Okay.
So uno, dos, tres, cuatro. Hello, everybody. This is Founder Laerun. I'm here with Lady Shel, and our community member Sudain is going to go over some Pathfinder for us, Pathfinder 1E. In particular, we're going to look a little at Rise of the Runelords. This is part 2 of a 2-part discussion regarding Pathfinder 1. We're doing this community event to kind of get people more exposed to other rule sets and also to help Pathfinder 1 fans because there's not a lot of content out there. So hopefully you'll be able to participate or watch this video in the future. We're using Fantasy Grounds Unity, and it is January 2021. So take it away, Sudain.
All right. So welcome back. If people have questions, please jump into the chat, ask questions. I do have some things that I'm going to cover in order, but if you have something that catches your mind, call out and we'll see what we can do to get that answered.
And one other thing, Lady Shel, do you have anything to say?
I have a time machine, I guess, because you said it's the 20th and it's actually the 19th.
Okay.
That's where
all
the
I
flux
got
capacity
to say.
All right, then. I did say 2021, January 2021. I don't remember saying the day, but okay.
Oh, I thought you said January the 20th.
That's all right.
2021.
Okay, Sudain.
Anyway.
It's all yours, man.
Okay, no worries. So I've created a basic test instance. There's all this is just the Fantasy Grounds Unity, and then from there I've loaded up a couple assets, the Rise of the Runelords, the first and second books. So that will help illustrate a couple of the points. As you've noticed, the fighter is a dwarf, but the icon does not. So this is very much a test. Your PCs will be far more accurate. So combat we covered pretty well last time. So just going down the skill tree, this particular fighter has skills already allocated. So for fighters, it's 2 plus their intelligence mod. So they get 4 skill points per level. And so I've already allocated them. It's literally just putting in the number in the ranks. And then from there, just checking to make sure you have the proper amount. That's really it. And so when the DM says, hey, please roll on acrobatics, you just drag and drop and that's it. And if they ask for something you have not yet trained in, like a bluff, you just roll what you have over there. So for skills, they're very, very straightforward. You will notice there is a little armor icon. It's called, that's for the armor check penalty. The idea being if you're wearing armor and you're trying to be acrobatic or climb or swim or pick locks, it's going to impose a penalty on your ability for fine movement and control. So how you get around that is you can take your armor off. Just go to inventory, and then from there find the offending piece and just de-equip it. Breastplate and heavy shield are probably that. So going back to the skills, yep, the acrobatics penalties are now reduced. And if I re-equip them, they should come right back.
So is there any reason why the heavy shield doesn't have a weight? Or is it something that...
It should have a weight. I think it's, let's find out whether the base item says it or not.
Okay. I'm just curious because I think heavy shield is going to have some weight.
Yeah, I absolutely think so as well. I know tower shields do.
Yeah, 15 pounds.
All right, so we'll just unlock that and put that in.
All right. Yeah, it's strange, but...
No, it's absolutely worth checking. There's tons of variables and everything in here. It's one of the things I always recommend is just put it in, double check what you think you know. Double check what you put in is actually what the item is supposed to be.
Got it.
So abilities, this is a great spot where you can put in all sorts of feats, everything else, and just have little information bags on what that actually is. So power attack, it's a very common feat for melee types. We'll be programming this in later, but there's nothing too much here under abilities other than it's just a reference box of I've got this ability. What is that again? And then from there you can always drag it to the hotbar for quick reference. Notes, great place to keep information about your hero, information about their backstory that may or may not have come up. I know that as a DM, I am constantly combing through my characters' sheets between sessions to make sure that they're capable of walking into the next fight and surviving. Last session, I did the math. And I'm like, that's going to be a really tough fight, but they've got the gear. Go in, they take out the creature in 3 rounds. He never got 1 hit off. They completely surprised me, but it's always good to have your sheets updated so the DM can meet you halfway. Actions, you program in your weapons, and then from there, you can program in other things. So for example, if you're a barbarian, you can create a new spell class, and then for example, rather than using prepared casting, I'm going to simulate spontaneous casting, and then from there create a spell, which is not how barbarian works, but it's how this sheet would work. So this barbarian would have, or this rage power would have 3 rages per day. And then from there, we can create an effect that would have all of the effects of a rage power. So what are those? We can go look up in the barbarian class what that actually is, but it's really just an effect. So create PC. Rage. So we would be programming this in by hand. I'm not going to go ahead and do that right now, but that's how you would go about that. Druid wild shape, number of times per day. In that case, I would probably use prepared casting. And then from there, just set up wild shape and then the effects of the different sizes. Work with your DM. Your DM is probably going to set that all up for you, or can help you set that up. There is a guide on Fantasy Grounds website. I don't know the link to it off the top of my head, but we can probably get a link to that. It has pretty much all of the different features you might need. I do know wild shape off the top of my head, so I'll go ahead and program that in. First, you take the name, and then I believe it is. And then from there, you start programming in the effect. So wild shape medium. And natural armor bonus 1, so AC 1. And you can keep adding more things, keep stacking things, which we'll be demonstrating later. This is the same thing that we'll be doing in a different part of it. I'm just showing you that if you have a prepared or spontaneous class feature, this is how you can do it and do it on your own sheet. The DM could also do it as part of a custom effect. And then from there, that would be accessible to the entire table. Doesn't really matter one way or the other. It's just 2 different ways of doing the same thing.
Okay. So I think it would behoove the game master to do it on the effects list and not just character sheet.
Yes. Yes. As the DM, absolutely. If your players are using common things like inspire courage or heroism, absolutely take the time, program it in behind the scenes so that it's in the effects table for everyone, because your monsters are going to be doing similar things.
Exactly. That's what I was getting at. You got to have that available for your NPCs.
Yes, exactly. So this actually came up last session, so I'm going to go ahead and show this here real quick. So there's a feat called Vital Strike, and it's actually very interesting the way it plays. So Vital Strike basically says when you get a second attack, rather than take the second attack, we'll just take the damage dice for that, but you only get one attack. So let me show you. So pull that up. Okay, so why am I bringing this up and why am I showing it? Because if it's programmed in poorly on the character side, it'll become very, very hard and to figure out. So I spent a little bit of time, figured this out, and this can be something that would be useful for you as a player to program in. So let's say we're looking at doing a Vital Strike with the hammer. Base attack, roll the extra damage dice, and add the results together before adding bonuses from strength, weapon abilities, precision, etc. Are not multiplied on a critical hit. That's the key phrase.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just force a critical hit from the heavy shield. So that's 2d6 and then some strength modifiers. So to do Vital Strike correctly, I'm going to add a second weapon. And I'm prefacing it with Vital Strike and then whatever the weapon name is, so I know that's a Vital Strike weapon. All right, and so it's going to be strength-based. And let's duplicate that. Here we go. Okay, so no properties, base attack, bonus is the same. All right, so we just have to add damage. Okay, so 1d4. Strength. Okay, so that's just a duplicate. Now to add the Vital Strike damage in, we add in an extra row. So we're doubling the damage die. We are not adding in the strength because that's already added in up here. And then from there on a critical, we should only get one. This should be multiplied by that. So let's test that. So normally we would get the 2d4. And on a critical, we would get that extra damage die, but it wouldn't get duplicated.
Okay.
So as a player, this is how you would program in Vital Strike. Okay, but how would we do that as a DM? Playing a monster who's not going to have a character sheet like that. So I have a monster that you will fight later. Again, CR7 versus a CR1 fighter. It's not supposed to be balanced. We're just showing the mechanics. It has a feat called Vital Strike. Well, that is not built into the full attack and base attack routines. So we're going to add that. Any questions from the chat room, Lady Shel?
Nope, nothing yet.
Fantastic. All right. Or now I made a mistake here. I used parentheses. Parentheses are going to hone in on damage, so I'm going to change that. So we're just duplicating the first weapon. So if the name is still Vital Strike, and then whatever it is, same base attack, and then from there I'm duplicating the weapon. And then I'm using the word plus to simply add in damage on the end. This is how you would do flaming or something else like that. And then you relock it.
That way the flames don't double up in your, like you said, if you have double damage, it's not going to be like that.
Exactly, yes.
You don't want to add. You're not going to add to the flame. In other words.
Yep, exactly. All right. So I was editing the generic Scarecrow. I don't think I was editing the character in the combat tracker, so I'm going to clear him out. Okay, apparently I was. Okay, so that is not updating. Let me try duplicating him and then adding him to the combat tracker.
So was he already on the combat tracker?
Yeah, I added him to the combat tracker and then edited it, and it did
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
seem to reflect.
that doesn't work. Yeah, normally. That is something that most rule sets, if you ever edit anything, you have to go back and adjust it. You can't. It's not going to pull the changes all the way through. So that's pretty true of all the rule sets.
Cool. Good to know. All right. So yeah, so you edit the NPC, then you drag it to the combat tracker.
Yep.
So it's always worthwhile to do your math ahead of time.
Yep.
All right. So from there, when it comes time to roll it as a DM, you just drag your damage. And that was, I believe we had a critical pre-selected. So you can see the 2d6 at the end. And then from there, that would just be a regular hit.
Quite a difference.
Yes, this is pre-power attack. So for this creature, it's going to want to use its power attack. But yeah, can be very much a big difference when it does crit. So let's say it actually does want to use power attack. As a player, this is going to be the same thing. So this is going to be one of those you want to ask your DM to program in for the table if you can. Which actually, let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to do power attack. And power attack, it cares whether you're using a one-handed or two-handed weapon for the math, and it's also level dependent. So the creature's base attack is 9, so 1, 4, 8. So it'll be 3. Power attack scales at increments of 4 levels, 1, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. I just trying to figure out that the base attack bonus of 9 is going to be the third increment of power attack. Okay, so now we specified what it is, now what it changes. Trading attack. Gaining a bonus on combat maneuver checks. Oh no, I'm sorry, you take that because those are attacks. But you gain a bonus on damage. So then from there, you can just drag that, you can program them in, or you can have your DM program that in, and then from there, you enable or disable power attack on a per round basis. It's on until the start of your next turn.
Quick question: is anyone taking these, for instance, that text that you just typed there, and put them in a document somewhere?
Yes, they have. I have
Okay.
tried importing it. It works okay. Always go back and double check. Always double check.
Right, but I mean for the community, can they find a document that has a lot of these written down?
Yes, the forums have that.
Okay. That would be helpful.
Yes, absolutely. Save yourself the time if you can, but always just double check it. So we just added it in. Let's just verify that it actually is going to take a penalty. Okay, so now we have a clear area. Nice. Okay, so critical. So its base attack is 13. So before any effects, it's going to swing at 13. Our power attack is going to reduce that by 3. So d20 plus 10. That's going to be, we're taking the penalty of 3, so that's correct. And then from there, we would confirm and probably deal a bunch of damage to the test character. So let's go ahead and confirm that it actually adds damage by setting it to be critical. Okay, so critical effects plus 18, and then from there, that looks like it's added in. So that's how you do power attack as a DM, running a monster, and how you would also program in Vital Strike. So those are 2 feats. Those are customs. There's a lot of common things like prone or sickened or shaken. You don't need to program them all in. They're part of the base rule set. So for example, we can make this, let's turn off power attack. And then from there, let's just sicken our construct. Sickened, it doesn't really say what that is. It's part of the base rule set. It's -2 on attacks, saves, skill checks, and ability checks. So let's verify that he does take a penalty on a weapon attack. So base of 13, 11, so he is taking a penalty. Let's also shaken him. 13 -2 for the shaken as well, and so it does reduce it, affects -4. So you when you're running Pathfinder, there's tons of effects like this. They all do different things. It is worth your weight in gold to know what effects do what. So for example, blinded can be painful just because you can't see, but it also is hard on dex-based characters because they lose their ability to use the dex for attack or defense. So yeah, monsters that use these, this is your friend. Okay, so that's what I have for this initial skills, the pre-programmed combat status effects, modifying the monster stat block, using power attack and vital strike as examples. Are there any other immediate questions, comments, ideas?
All is quiet in YouTube land.
Although we have a couple new viewers, so we're doing good.
Oh wait, the Frozen Throg did say something. Always keep a reference sheet at hand.
Yes.
Got
Not a
it.
question, but it's a comment.
Well, that's a very good one.
Yes, absolutely. Fantasy Grounds is a great tool. You should know the math and be able to run it without Fantasy Grounds, but it is always worth it to have a reference sheet. Yes, absolutely. Great question. Great point. You made me think of it. So what if your monster has to roll a skill check that it doesn't have a rank in? So for example, if Scarecrow Edit has to do a sense motive to figure out, is someone lying to him? Or maybe he's in a river now and he has to do a swim check. Well, words come back to me. All the skills are associated with abilities. So you just roll the associated ability score. So for swim, it would just simply be a strength check. And he's probably gonna drown.
Boo.
Yep.
That's what happens when you're made of straw.
Exactly.
Is he susceptible to fire?
So I actually believe he is. So that's NPCs. Scarecrow Edit, other. So immunity to magic. Any magical attack that deals fire or slow or cold, fire or cold slows him as per the slow spell for 2d6 rounds, no save. Otherwise, he's pretty much immune to magic. It does say that he has immune construct traits, but it doesn't really clarify what that is. So you would have to look up in the rule book, either in the bestiary, what that is. I think traits C construct. Yeah, you would have to look that up. What they can be affected by and what they can't. And again, dragging to the taskbar or dragging to the hotbar is your friend. Okay, so we're about halfway through the first batch. So if there's no other questions, comments, I'm going to go ahead and shift more towards some of the Rise of the Runelords specific content.
All right.
Frozen Throg. Why can't I say your name? Frozen Throg does have a question. Says, does Pathfinder 1E have numerical weaknesses, or is it like 1.5x like in Starfinder?
I'm not familiar with Star Hunter. Is that the right word?
Starfinder.
Okay, so I am not familiar with Starfinder. I can relate the difference between 5e though. So 5e tends to have bounded numerical accuracy. The idea being it's better to roll more dice and then have the range of that 1 through 20 be the bound and give throughout the character's lifespan +2, a 3, a 4, maybe on the high end, maybe of +5. Pathfinder tends to do more number stacking. So it's, for example, with the Scarecrow, we added Shaken and Sickened, and you can keep adding skill ranks. So it ends up being where the DCs could get into the 25s, 30s, sometimes 40s. So it's more number stacking than it is rolling dice. Does that answer your question?
Said vulnerability is probably the better word. Huh.
Yes, there are vulnerabilities. So, for example, swarms are vulnerable to AoE effects. Any AoE effect that affects a swarm, they take 1.5 times damage just because there's so many of them and it just hits more of the creatures. Okay, so if you have more questions, please feel free to come back. I'm happy to continue that conversation. I'm gonna keep things going though.
Okay.
So, Rise of the Runelords. So this is basically the book in PDF. The book. It has all the information, all of the monsters, the stat box, the maps. Everything is linked. That does not alleviate the GM's burden of knowing and reading this. So, for example, using this book, this is written as if you are reading the paper copy. And while you can go through it, fun facts, reading all this information stuff. It's better the way I'm using it and the way it's working very well for me is it is better to think about this as a script for like a screenplay. This is someone else's version of a story saying, hey, you should do these things, these events, run these combats, and it's going to work out this way in a nice arcing story. And it's very, very, very well written. But the thing with screenplays is they are written in terms of emotional content and drama. What is the value at stake? What is the dramatic turnabout? What's the gap? Why can't the heroes get what they want? And then from there, what do the heroes do to overcome that? So there are positive story beats. They get what they want. They get recognition, gold. They get magic items or whatever. And then there's downbeats. Monsters are trying to keep them from that. Monsters are trying to enact their horrible plot on the world. So reading that and outlining these ideas from how it's written and then modulating to your table as needed is going to help you. This is how I run, and this is how I recommend. Again, use what works for you. So the first section is the burnt offering. So there's four parts to it. The first one is interesting. Okay, I didn't know shift clicking on a golem does something. So there's the first part where there's Festival on Fire. And then from there, there's there's 5 scenes in that. So this is the Swallowtail Festival. There's no map. It's narration, talking, what people are serving for lunch. This is all scene setting. So I'm gonna minimize this and set that off to the side. The next scene is Goblins in the Streets. Here, this one is going to have 3 different combats. So I'm going to set this off to the side and minimize that. And because these are combats, and combats tend to take more time, I'm going to minimize these as well. Okay, so I know that I've got one scene, initial setting, and then from there, the next scene has a downbeat going left to right in chronological order of how we are going to play it at the table. And then from there, down being a downbeat, up being, hey, this is feel good. So then the next part is Chapter 2, Local Heroes. And there are many different scenes. I don't think the group I would be playing with is going to get through all of them, so I'm just going to minimize and do 2, 3. And that's one of the downfalls of this method is I've got all these shortcuts on the desktop. I keep restoring them, and then I have to remember, oh right, I actually want to minimize versus close. It's just something that I haven't gotten through yet. But at the very least, when you're starting your session, figuring out what your group can go through, it can be useful to figure out where the upbeats and the downbeats are. And then from there, let's say they get into the start of part 3, but not very far. Yeah, this one's got several rooms, so this is going to be definitely a map one. So this is at the start of every session. This is how I line things out. So I know how to narrate to the group, and I can check in: are the players feeling good? Do I need to add an extra upbeat? Are there 2 heavy downbeats in a row? Then I need to make sure that the next upbeat is high. I'm not sure if any of that makes sense, but that's the way my mind works.
Okay.
All right, so let's look at the goblins in the street, the combat encounters. So for this, they've got the Goblin Song, which basically someone copied and pasted it. All you have to do is click the speech bubble, and it pastes into chat. So some of my players prefer the DM to actually read this out because they can speak with inflection. Others prefer to have it in written form so that while other players are talking over themselves, or talking over everyone else, they can read what's being said. Use whatever works for you.
I would choose to make it, if you're going to do it in chat like that, I would make it done in Goblin so that only people that understand or if it works that way. Does it work that way in Pathfinder?
Yes, you can start speaking in specific voices.
Of course, I wouldn't want to try and say it in Goblin, in the actual Goblin that I don't understand.
Right. But you can specify what different languages people know, and then from there, only that person will understand what was said. And there are some encounters where I will just start typing in one specific language, like my players went into a shop to go exchange gems. Well, gem markets, those are valuable things. They're going to have guards. Those guards are going to pay attention. They're going to use non-standard communication to talk amongst each other so that they can talk about the patrons in front of the patrons. In my example, the guards were Elvish, so I had the guards just speaking in Elvish. One of the players who spoke Elvish is like, "Hi guys, pay no attention to us." And they're like, "What?" So yeah, you can definitely speak in different languages. The flavor text, I haven't figured out how to make it speak in different languages. Okay, so this is a GM map to show you where all the different placements and stuff are. You don't necessarily want your players to know all of that, so we'll go ahead and pull up the player map. Okay, so unlock it. As we can see, line of sight has been pre-set up by fabulous and cool people. It's always worth double checking the line of sight, everything else ahead of time. You do not have to play with it, but it's there. So for this, I would look at the different pins and say the initial assault is this one. So you can drag them and run these encounters as they are. And for an encounter like this where it is timed, you deal with the initial assault, and then from there you have a second assault. Then from there, that works well. For larger encounters, which I'm going to show in a minute, there's a quirk I use that helps. Basically, yeah. So for stage encounters, adding them one at a time works if you know your players are not going to be spread across the different parts of the map. But the key thing is when you're loading it up, just draw out the map and then from there minimize it so it's ready and available. You can also share the map with your players pre-session, I believe, so it loads on their client when they're loading in. And if I am wrong, please correct me.
I think you're wrong about me correcting you.
Okay, fair enough. So I would minimize that, and then from there, the Swallowtail Festival would be the map that I'm going to use, and then from there, the initial assault is going to be part of the downbeat. So that's how I structure things. And then from there, I can pull them up as needed. So for part two, the local heroes, there's really not There's one map, but it's not a large one. It is the players are wandering about town. There are a bunch of places in town. It is literally wander from place to place, interact with the baker, the sheriff, the mayor, the priest, interact with the lumber mill, interact with the barkeeper, tons of different maps. It's worthwhile to go out, draw, create, import other maps. They didn't include this in the book, so it's not included in the Fantasy Grounds module. So we're going to minimize that and then have that be part of the section 2.
That's a lot of encounters for that city.
Oh, it absolutely is. So these are not actually full encounters. These are informations about the buildings.
That makes sense.
So the tavern, who the owner is, what do they serve, any particular local challenge, a picture of their fish.
Picture of their fish?
Yep.
The hagfish.
Yes, if you beat the challenge, you can get some gold. So it helps make the town feel very, very, very alive. It's one of the best towns I have ever read and run. It feels very natural to get the players invested in this area because you have so much detail about the individuals and their relationships to each other, what they want, what they are capable of, and what they're offering. There's a lot of information here, which is really nice. So then the third part, the third act, which the players may just get into, is investigating the glassworks. They're sent to the glassworks for a reason. And then from there, they go on to the map. So this is kind of a dungeon crawl. Where do they go to interact and find the monsters, kill them, rescue the princess, and stuff like that? So it's good to structure, let me back up. So we've structured our shortcuts in upbeats and downbeats as cross time. It doesn't necessarily tell us inside the complex though. So I'm going to quickly highlight different rooms in the complex for upbeats and downbeats. So for this, I am editing the map, and then from there I'm going to draw shapes on the map. Paints. And I'm going to paint them in, paint them on the the GM layer only. So only the GM would see this. So if you're a player and you're like, man, I'm going to play in a Rise of the Runelords game someday and it's going to be awesome, this is a great time to turn off your camera or something and just listen to the sound of my voice narrate you into success. All right, so first are downbeats. I'm going to pick a color, and then from there, just start drawing borders around the room where a downbeat will happen. And I'm defining downbeat as something that if the players do not act and do not succeed, they will fail. Things like walking into a room, there's a monster. If the players do not act, the monster will come up and stab them and kill them. So the players are going to act. There's a locked door that they have to get past. If they do not find a way past this locked door, they will fail. That kind of thing. For this particular area, it is a locked building, so I'm going to go to the different doors, and then from there try to lock them. Using Control-Z. Okay, don't know who that is, and I'm not sorry. Great, my boss is calling. Okay. Okay, so there are 3 entrances to this, and they are locked by default. So let's go on and lock the doors. Okay, so the next part is the heroes are trying to get in. Well, the townsfolk don't necessarily know that they're supposed to be able to get in, whether there's something wrong. So if the townsfolk see someone breaking in, that's kind of a problem. They should alert the guards. Well, that's not necessarily a downbeat, but it's a complication. It's something greater than walking in and getting success. So I'm going to highlight the general area in a different color and group these into different folders so I know where they are. Okay, so that's a reminder to the DM as the players walk in, there's a complication they need to remember and think about. There's also one in this oblong room. There's a combat complication. Goblins trying to shove heroes in furnaces. That's pretty non-standard, but it's there, so we're making a reminder that you should go look this up when it's time to go into this room. And they are visible to the DM only. Okay, there are goblins, if I remember right. That is another downbeat. Okay, and then there's another one there. So now let's go ahead and do an upbeat and for them getting what they need. Okay, so that is an upbeat, and then from there, I believe there is one more lore piece, and so I use a different color for that. Lore I color specifically in a different color because there's a lot of things you want to foreshadow, set things up so that when the big reveal happens, the players know, oh right, we saw that coming because of this note and that journal, and then we did these interviews. We know exactly who the bad guy is when it comes time. So this is how I structure all of my maps to help remind me where the key things are. So by looking at this, we can see as the players break into this area, there's going to be an interesting encounter here. Actually, that's lore as well. So there's two key areas. One is a major downbeat with some lore, and then from there, the next is going downstairs. It looks like there's another conflict area with some lore in it, and then from there, they're going to get their reward behind a locked door.
I like how you're doing that. I've never thought of doing that.
Yeah, it's how I structure my mind and how I do things. It does not alleviate me from actually loading up the tabs and reading what's in the room again.
Correct.
All this is just a reminder before the session. This is things you need to pay attention to.
Right.
Okay, and that is the third time my boss has called me, so I probably should answer work.
Yep. I will babble while you do that.
This could very well go for quite a while. I'm on call.
Okay, that's fine.
I just can't make the promise that I will return.
Okay, no problem. Thanks for coming by. Lady Shel and I will just call it out. If you could leave your table up, that'd be great. Just for now.
Can do.
Okay. Thanks, Sudain. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so that will be it for the evening. Sudain has a work thing to do, so we were only at last 10 minutes anyhow. So this is Pathfinder 1, Rise of the Runelords. Really like the way he laid out the areas for how that is supposed to play out as far as being a positive or negative impact on your characters or their progress. And then he also had some lore sections and some threat areas, so that's kind of cool. The other thing is that this show was pretty much just kind of thrown together at the last minute. We asked him if he would come on about a month ago, and we decided that we would go ahead and continue the series. Maybe we can even have him back again someday, or maybe we'll have somebody else on. But nonetheless, we're trying to get a little bit more exposure out there for different rule sets. And this is the way to do it, is to get people who are passionate and that love the rule set. I've never really played Pathfinder, but I remember when it came out. I wasn't playing any role-playing games back then, but I was interested in it, and now I'm finally kind of seeing what it was all about. I kind of missed a whole, probably a good 15 years or so of role-playing experience. However, now we get that opportunity. So we're going to be doing some things in the community. Lady Shel, do you want to go over some of the things that we got going on currently?
Sure. I was just going to head over to the website so that I had a link that I could post. Basically, what we have been doing is starting last November, we had the first of our year of alternate rule sets. That's what we're calling it. And when we say alternate rule sets, we are saying that as anything that is not D&D 5e, because a majority of the things that we teach are D&D 5e. But we want to give some love to our other rule sets. And for ones that we have teachers for, we are going to have a different rule set spotlighted each month. Now, in November, we did spotlight the Pathfinder 1E and the D&D 3.x. So it's 3.0, up to 3.5, I'm guessing. And then we skipped December because of the holidays, that everybody would be busy and stuff. So we didn't have a spotlight then. And this month we are spotlighting the Traveler rule set, which is a space themed rule set. And I will just reach out to the 1 month ahead because I don't want to go too far in the future. But next month you can expect us to be spotlighting the AD&D or second edition, or I think they also call it 1E. Fantasy Grounds, the rule set is either 1E or 2E. If you like second edition, or you always wanted to learn about second edition, we invite you to come back in February, where we will have several different classes. We're just starting to get them added to the schedule. We don't have everything up yet, so I can't give you specifics, but we will have that. And if that is not your thing, we will still have other classes in other rule sets. So it's not like that's the only thing we're going to do that month. That's just where we're going to spotlight so that we can give other rule sets some chance to get more users. So let me get the the link for the traveler landing page, and this is where if you are not a member of our Discord or a member of our website, that you can join and get information there. We also have a contest, actually 2 contests, or maybe even more contests going on right now. We're giving away during the upcoming symposium, I believe it's on the 29th, and that is with the Mongoose Publishing owner, Matthew Sprang. Sorry if I said your name wrong. He will be in there, and Zane, who is a teacher on our website, on our Discord. He teaches Traveler, and they will be having a symposium. And everybody that signs up, you have to sign up on the website and attend the actual event, will be entered to win a copy, a hard copy actually, of the core rule book for Traveler 2E. And then the second contest that I mentioned is sponsored by Smiteworks, and they are giving away 2 copies of the module for the core rule book for Traveler 2E. So you can find that information. It will be on this link that I need to let go of my push to talk so I can get the link.
That's fine, Shel. A couple questions in here. Naughty Bits wanted to know about the Kickstarter for the Pathfinder for going into Suede. It's really hard to say what they're going to do with it. I don't know how long it's going to take them to input all that and convert it over, but I imagine as far as assets go, you might be able to use the maps and tokens from regular Pathfinder, but I really doubt they're going to have you access the module itself. Although I don't know why it wouldn't take you long to copy and paste stuff over if you had to. Thanks, Shel, for the link. And Jeff asked, is there any plans to do a Pathfinder 1E video for coding programming? Well, we did that a little bit earlier in the session. We didn't do a lot, just gave some examples. I'm not sure if that would be too niche or if it's just going to, appeal to certain people, but we do teach a class in our community, and right now there's actually one going on right now that covers this type of coding. The coding to do for specific rule sets may or may not be an interest to the community on YouTube, but I can assure you that if you take the class that we have, that you're going to get a good handle on the process and what it takes, and learning all the keywords, and also learning what type of punctuation and upper and lower case, and all those sorts of things. And Pathfinder is pretty complex, so there's probably a lot there that couldn't be covered in one class. So if that's you and you're wanting to learn that, I would take our class and build on that information rather than waiting for a video that may not come out that would only cover a few things. So we found out there's a list of these keywords that's maintained in the Fantasy Grounds forums. I did ask about that because it'd be handy to have that information right up front. So
yes, and I do highly recommend the classes and learning that stuff. It definitely does help you run the game.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
So we're going to wrap this up. So can you address the other question regarding, let's see, I guess it has to do with the Kickstarter that's coming out for the Pathfinder lore basically being converted into Suede.
I have no idea what Suede is.
Savage Worlds. Savage Worlds has the AP for the Pathfinder world.
Oh, cool.
So you'll be able to play Pathfinder in other rule set.
I didn't know about that.
Okay.
That sounds like a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And that's a good partnership. You got Paizo, and then you have Pinnacle Entertainment. So that's, it's kind of a big deal. Any other questions? Okay, yeah. Jeff said he'll look into the class. Yep. Yeah, so Jeff, we just had one today, so it'll be a little while before we have another one, but we do have a request area on our website. So
I posted the link.
that's great. Thank you. I was just say, Shel, you're on top of it. You're way ahead of me. So that is something that that you can schedule, and we'll build a class probably around your request. Is kind of what I'm getting at. No guarantees on it because Cass just taught. He's like in the middle of teaching that class now, so maybe you'll get one, before the end of the year, or end of the year, before the end of the month. But I can't guarantee it because we're volunteers. So, okay. Any final words from you guys before we head out?
The winning lotto numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
That sounded right. That sounds just like the commercial. That would be interesting if it really did come out that way. The probability of that would be even greater than the winning.
And now I need to change the combination to my luggage.
Exactly. All right, guys and girls. I think we're about done. Shel, you got anything else?
No, I just wanted to thank the people that came to watch. And if you missed any of the stream, you can watch the VOD. Is it a VOD? I guess it's a VOD. Once it's done and closed with, you can look on our we have it as part of our what do you call it?
It's our community. What do you call it? Get lost for words here.
Well, I'm looking at my text.
Anyways,
down here.
both these videos will be up. There's one from earlier, about a month ago.
Playlist. It's in the social engagements and the FGC community playlist. If you scroll down underneath this video, you will see the link. It's the very last link on that page.
Yeah, that's it. We're getting old. That's what it is. Okay, I think we're going to call it a stream. I'll go ahead and end it. And thanks again for everyone showing up. And thank you, Dane, for helping us. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.